Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The atmosphere was electric as Jace fidgeted with his bow tie, an unusual accessory for him. He had agreed to this whimsical idea of partaking in the drag show, egged on by his supportive gang, and now the reality of it was sinking in. He stood behind the scenes, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation.
"You'll rock this, Jace,"
Ryan, his confident wingman, assured him, offering a reassuring pat on his shoulder.
"It's time to let loose and enjoy the moment."
Attempting to ignore the nervous flutter in his chest, Jace managed a smile. This was uncharted territory, and he felt like an imposter. The unfamiliar sensation of the stage makeup and the voluminous wig only added to his growing anxiety. But as he caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror, something stirred inside him. The person staring back wasn't the Jace he knew. It was someone else entirely.
"Next up, please welcome to the stage, Mae West,"
the MC announced. Taking a deep breath, Jace stepped out into the spotlight. The crowd cheered as he began his routine, lip-syncing and dancing to an upbeat pop song. At first, his movements were stiff and awkward, but as the music washed over him, something shifted. He felt himself loosening up, getting into character. By the end of the performance, Jace was beaming. The audience roared with applause. As he made his way off stage, he felt a rush of exhilaration unlike anything he'd experienced before.
"Dude, that was awesome!"
Ryan exclaimed, high-fiving him. "You totally killed it out there." Jace grinned, still riding the high. "Thanks, man. That was actually really fun." As the night went on, Jace mingled with the other performers, soaking up the electric atmosphere. When it came time for the results, he was shocked to hear his name called for second place.
"Congratulations, Mae West,"
the host proclaimed, draping a sash across Jace's shoulders. Jace accepted the prize with a gracious smile, but inside his mind was reeling. Something about hearing that name, Mae, stirred up feelings he couldn't quite explain. It felt right in a way he never expected. Later that night, as Jace removed his makeup and wig, he stared at his reflection. The face looking back at him felt like a stranger, and yet, paradoxically, more familiar than ever before. He traced his features with trembling fingers, heart pounding. This wasn't just a costume, he realized with startling clarity. This was something more. In the weeks that followed, Jace found himself unable to stop thinking about that night. He threw himself into research, reading everything he could about gender identity and expression. The more he learned, the more pieces started falling into place. One evening, he sat down with his closest friend, Emily.
"I need to talk to you about something,"
he began hesitantly. Emily's brow furrowed with concern. "What's up? Is everything okay?" Jace took a deep breath. "Remember that drag competition a few weeks ago? Well, it made me realize some things about myself. I think I might be transgender." Emily's eyes widened, but she reached out to squeeze his hand supportively. "Thank you for telling me. How are you feeling about all this?" "Scared, confused, but also relieved in a way." Jace struggled to articulate the swirl of emotions. "It's like I finally have an explanation for things I've felt my whole life but could never put into words." They talked for hours, Emily listening patiently as Jace poured out his fears and hopes. By the end of the night, Jace felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Having someone in his corner made the road ahead seem a little less daunting. Over the next few months, Jace began exploring his identity more openly. He started seeing a therapist who specialized in gender issues. Slowly but surely, he gained the courage to come out to more friends and family members. Some were immediately supportive. Others struggled to understand at first. But Jace was determined to live authentically, no matter the obstacles. One crisp autumn day, Jace stood in front of the mirror, heart pounding. Today was the day. He was going to present as female in public for the first time. He'd chosen the name May, a callback to that fateful night that had set him on this journey of self-discovery. Carefully, he applied makeup, trying to steady his shaking hands. The black wig he'd purchased sat nearby, waiting to complete the transformation. As he slipped on a blue dress, May caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. For the first time, the reflection matched how she felt inside. Taking a deep breath, May stepped out onto the street. She felt exposed, vulnerable. But with each step, her confidence grew. People passed by without a second glance. She was just another woman going about her day. At a cafe, the barista smiled warmly.
"What can I get for you, miss?"
Those simple words sent a thrill through May. "A latte, please," she replied, her voice higher than usual. As she sat sipping her coffee, May felt a profound sense of rightness settle over her. This was who she was meant to be all along. In the months that followed, May began transitioning in earnest. She started hormone therapy, watching in awe as her body slowly changed to match her inner self. She practiced her voice, working to find a tone that felt natural. There were challenging days, of course, times when dysphoria hit hard or ignorant comments stung, but May drew strength from her support network and the growing sense of comfort in her own skin. 1 year after that fateful drag competition, May stood backstage once again, but this time it wasn't a costume or a performance. It was simply her, preparing to go on stage and share her story at a transgender visibility event. As she waited for her cue, May reflected on how far she'd come. That dare from her friends had set her on an unexpected path, but one that led to profound self-discovery and authenticity. And now, please welcome to the stage, Mae West. Taking a deep breath, May stepped into the spotlight. The crowd applauded, and she felt a surge of pride and belonging. This was where she was meant to be. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice strong and clear. "A little over a year ago, I never could have imagined standing here like this. But sometimes, life takes us on journeys we never expected." As May shared her story, she saw heads nodding in understanding, tears glistening in eyes. She spoke of the challenges she'd faced, but also the incredible joy of finally living as her true self. To anyone out there questioning their identity or struggling to be themselves, I want you to know that you're not alone, May concluded. There is a beautiful life waiting for you on the other side of fear. All it takes is the courage to take that first step. The audience rose in a standing ovation. May felt tears prick her eyes as the wave of love and acceptance washed over her. In that moment, she knew without a doubt that she was exactly where she was meant to be. After the event, May mingled with attendees, hugging and chatting with others who shared similar experiences. The sense of community was overwhelming. As the crowd thinned, she spotted a familiar face approaching. It was Ryan, one of the friends who had dared her to enter that drag competition so long ago.
"May,"
he called out, engulfing her in a bear hug. "That was incredible. I'm so proud of you." May smiled, touched by his support. Thanks, Ryan. I never would have guessed that Dare would lead to all this. Ryan chuckled.
Yeah, who knew? But seriously, you seem so much happier now. It's amazing to see.
They chatted for a while, catching up on each other's lives. As they were saying goodbye, Ryan hesitated.
Hey, May. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry if I ever said or did anything insensitive before you came out. I didn't understand then, but I'm trying to educate myself now.
May felt a lump form in her throat. That means a lot, Ryan. Thank you. As she watched him leave, May felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over her. Her journey hadn't been easy, but moments like this made it all worthwhile. The next morning, May woke up feeling energized and inspired. She had the day off work and decided to use it productively. After a quick breakfast, she sat down at her computer and began typing. For months, she'd been toying with the idea of starting a blog to document her transition and provide resources for others in the transgender community. Today felt like the perfect day to finally take the plunge. As her fingers flew across the keyboard, May poured out her experiences, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. She wrote about the moment she first realized she was transgender, the fear and excitement of coming out, and the joy of finally living authentically. Hours slipped by unnoticed as May lost herself in the writing. When she finally looked up, the sun was already starting to set. She stretched, working out the kinks in her back, and reread what she'd written. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And if it could help even one person feel less alone in their journey, it would be worth it. With a deep breath, May hit publish on her first blog post. As she watched the page load, she felt a mix of vulnerability and excitement. This was another step in owning her story and using her experiences to help others. Over the next few weeks, May fell into a routine of working on her blog in her spare time. To her surprise and delight, it started gaining traction. Comments poured in from others sharing their own stories or thanking her for her openness. One evening, as May was responding to comments, a notification popped up. It was an email from a local LGBTQ+ organization, inviting her to speak at an upcoming event for transgender youth. May's heart raced as she read the invitation. Public speaking still made her nervous, but the thought of being able to help young people who were questioning their identity was incredibly appealing. After mulling it over for a few days, May decided to accept the invitation. She spent the next few weeks preparing her talk, drawing from her own experiences and the insights she'd gained through her transition. The day of the event arrived, and May found herself standing in front of a room full of young faces. Some looked uncertain, others hopeful. All were hanging on her every word. "I remember what it was like to be where you are now," May began. "Feeling like you don't quite fit in your own skin, not sure who you really are or where you belong. But I'm here to tell you that it gets better. You are valid. You are worthy of love and respect, and you have a bright future ahead of you." As she continued her talk, May saw eyes light up with recognition and understanding. During the Q&A session afterward, hands shot up eagerly. May answered each question thoughtfully, drawing from her own journey. One shy teenager approached May after the formal part of the event had ended. "Thank you for being here," they said quietly. "I've been so scared to talk to anyone about how I've been feeling, but hearing your story, it gives me hope." May felt tears prick her eyes as she hugged the teen. "You've got this," she assured them. "And you're not alone. There's a whole community here to support you." As May left the event that night, she felt a profound sense of purpose. Her journey hadn't just been about finding herself. It was also about paving the way for others to do the same. In the months that followed, May's life continued to evolve. Her blog gained a dedicated following, and she found herself invited to speak at more events. She even started a support group for local transgender individuals, creating a safe space for people to share their experiences and support one another. One sunny afternoon, May sat in a coffee shop, sipping a latte and working on her laptop. She was so engrossed in her writing that she almost didn't notice when someone approached her table.
"Excuse me,"
a hesitant voice said. "Are you Mae West, the blogger?" May looked up to see a young woman standing there, nervously twisting her hands. "Yes, that's me," May replied with a warm smile. "Can I help you with something?" The woman's eyes widened. I just wanted to thank you. Your blog, it helped me understand myself. I started transitioning last year, and your posts were like a guidebook for me." Touched, May gestured for the woman to sit down. They talked for over an hour, sharing experiences and laughing over common struggles. As they were saying goodbye, the woman hesitated. Would you maybe want to get coffee again sometime?" she asked, shyly. "As friends, I mean. It's just nice to talk to someone who understands." May felt a warmth spread through her chest. "I'd love that," she replied sincerely. As she watched the woman leave, May marveled at how far she'd come. From a dare that led to an unexpected self-discovery to building a community and helping others on their own journeys, it had been a whirlwind of a ride. That evening, as May got ready for bed, she caught sight of herself in the mirror. Her black hair, now grown out, framed a face that was undeniably feminine. But more than that, it was a face filled with confidence and joy. May smiled at her reflection, feeling a deep sense of contentment. She thought back to that scared, confused person she'd been before her transition, the one who had nervously stepped onto a stage in drag, not realizing it would change everything. "Thank you," she whispered to that past self. "Thank you for having the courage to take that first step." As she drifted off to sleep, May felt grateful for every part of her journey, the highs and the lows, the challenges and the triumphs. Each experience had shaped her into the woman she was today, and she wouldn't change a thing. The next morning, May woke up early, feeling refreshed and energized. She had a busy day ahead, a meeting with her therapist, followed by a session at the voice coach, and then an evening support group meeting. As she got dressed, pulling on a comfortable blue sweater and jeans, May reflected on how different her life looked now compared to a few years ago. Back then, she'd been going through the motions, never quite feeling like she fit in her own skin. Now, every day felt like an adventure, an opportunity to live authentically and help others do the same. At her therapy session, May discussed her recent speaking engagement and the emotional impact it had on her. Her therapist, Dr. Chen, listened attentively, offering insights and encouragement. "You've come so far, May," Dr. Chen said warmly. "How do you feel about your progress?" May thought for a moment. "Grateful," she replied, "and a little amazed, to be honest. There are still tough days, of course, but overall, I feel like I'm finally living the life I was meant to live." Dr. Chen nodded approvingly. "That's wonderful to hear. Remember, it's okay to acknowledge the challenges too. Transitioning is a lifelong journey." After therapy, May headed to her voice coach. She'd made significant progress in developing a more feminine speaking voice, but still worked on refining it. The session was challenging, but rewarding, and May left feeling accomplished. As she walked to the community center for the support group meeting, May's phone buzzed with a notification. It was a comment on her latest blog post from someone just beginning their transition journey. "Your words give me hope," the comment read. "I'm terrified of what lies ahead, but reading about your experiences makes me feel less alone. Thank you for sharing your story." May felt a lump form in her throat as she read the words. Moments like these reminded her why she continued to share her journey so openly, despite the occasional negative comment or difficult question. At the support group, May listened as others shared their experiences, the joys of finally living authentically, the pain of rejection from loved ones, the daily challenges of navigating a world that wasn't always understanding or accepting. When it was her turn to speak, May shared her recent experiences and the gratitude she felt for how far she'd come. "But I want you all to know," she added, looking around the circle, "that you inspire me just as much as I might inspire you. Your courage, your resilience, your authenticity. It's beautiful to witness." After the meeting, as people were saying their goodbyes, a newcomer approached May. "I was nervous about coming tonight," they admitted. "But listening to everyone, it makes me feel like maybe I can do this too." May smiled encouragingly. "You absolutely can," she assured them. "And you've already taken one of the hardest steps by coming here tonight. We're all here to support you." As May walked home that evening, she felt a deep sense of contentment settle over her. The path she'd chosen wasn't always easy, but it was undeniably right. She thought back to that night at the drag competition, when she'd first stepped on stage as May. How nervous she'd been, how unsure. She could never have imagined then where that one night would lead her. Now, years later, May was living a life filled with purpose and authenticity. She had a supportive community, a platform to help others, and, most importantly, a true sense of self. As she unlocked her apartment door, May caught sight of her reflection in the hallway mirror. The woman looking back at her was confident, happy, and unequivocally herself. May smiled at her reflection, feeling a surge of pride and gratitude. That dare from her friends had been the catalyst for an incredible journey of self-discovery. It had led her to uncover her true identity, to find the courage to live authentically, and to build a life filled with meaning and purpose. As she settled in for the night, May felt a sense of excitement for what the future might hold. There would undoubtedly be more challenges ahead, but she felt ready to face them. After all, she was exactly who she was meant to be, and it had all started with a dare.
Thanks for watching my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!